Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ambassador's Lounge. Much has been said and written about the Pahalgam massacre, in which 26 innocent civilians lost their lives. Here at the Ambassador's Lounge, we strongly condemn this incident, the killing of these innocent civilians, and offer our condolences to the bereaved. We also pray for the early recovery of those who are injured. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan, like the rest of the world, has condemned this action. India, on the other hand, immediately after, or in fact hours after this accident or this massacre, alleged that Pakistan was involved in this gruesome act. Of course, we rejected this thing and offered a neutral and impartial investigation by international agencies into this event. International media like the New York Times has also highlighted that India has no evidence of Pakistan's involvement, yet the bellicose statements by the Indian leaders, their statesmen, their politicians, their anchors, their analysts, they keep on harping on the same thing, that Pakistan is involved, and what they have done is they have created a war hysteria and anti-Pakistan and anti-Muslim sentiments in India. Therefore, the tensions between the two countries are still brewing. India, on its part, has taken raft measures which include suspending Indus Water Treaty, which means they want to block the water, Pakistan's waters, which is our lifeline. Pakistan has reciprocated the Indian actions in the kind, and we have closed our airspace for Indian airlines. The two countries have also exchanged for the continuous days firing on across the LOC. The world has called for restraint and it has called for de-escalation. Lately, as you all know, the Minister of the Secretary of State for U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, called the Prime Minister of Pakistan and also had a discussion with the Indian Foreign Minister to de-escalate. But the war drums still continue to beat in India, and they are drowning the saner voices. What does the future hold? I have with me Ambassador Asif Durrani and Ambassador Riaz Bukhari, and I will ask them on this issue. Asif, I would come to you first. Now, immediately after terror attack in Pahalgam, India, without any evidence and little investigation, India accused Pakistan of involvement. Now, the ostensible purpose was to hide its own failure in the region, isolate Pakistan, malign Pakistan internationally. Now, according to New York Times, India has publicly presented no evidence to support its claim that Pakistan was behind it. In briefing to the foreign diplomats, Indian officials admitted that their investigation was still ongoing. Do you see any indication that international community has bought India's narrative?
Imran, thank you very much. I don't think so. That's why and Pakistan's, in fact, very clear statement that let's have an impartial, neutral inquiry into the matter actually worked. And India thought that they will malign Pakistan on this issue. But it did not work, and if you look at it, that within 10 minutes of the incident, Indian media started blaming Pakistan, and this is unfair. And Mr. Modi, in fact, once he accused Pakistan, he immediately rushed to Bihar to address the election rally. Even he did not attend the opposition conference on this issue. So, in a way, it was the domestic agenda which dominated Indian narrative. And internationally also it was realized that Pakistan was bold enough to call the Indian bluff and tell the world that, okay, if Indians think that we are involved, then let's have an impartial inquiry.
So
And
one
India
is,
has not come back to that.
and one, as if one is tempted then to think that this could be a false flag operation, an operation in which Indian establishment could be involved.
You cannot ignore that. We have previous examples of Shatit Singh Pura in 2000 when President Clinton was visiting India, and this happened. 31 Sikhs were massacred, and the blame was put on Pakistan-supported militants. But it turned out that it was again a flag operation enacted by the Indian Army. And subsequently, when Clinton was from India, he was visiting to Islamabad. They claimed that they have killed alleged attackers of Sikhs, but it turned out that those were the Kashmiris and their families. In fact, they protested that their people were, their sons and their brothers were killed mercilessly. So that we have one example,
Of
and that was proven. Later on, our Lieutenant General, who happened to be there, he also spilled the beans. So this is not something new. Same happened on 13 December 2001, after the 9/11, on the Indian Parliament. They blamed Pakistan. In fact, there was an eyeball to eyeball situation between Pakistan and India. But the fellow, and later on it turned out that Pakistan was not involved. It was not Pakistan's doing. So they have done
They
it.
have a history of that. Yes, coming to you. Now, more than anything, this Pahalgam massacre has hurt the ego and pride of Mr. Modi. Mr. Modi and India has talked their narrative of this new Kashmir.
Yeah.
It has been there, and they have been talking about New Kashmir, and that they said that surge in tourism. Since 22, there has been a surge in tourism. In 24, there were about 3.5 million tourists who went to Kashmir. So they view it as return to normalcy there in Kashmir. Therefore, it was not surprising that Mr. Modi labeled the incident as terror attack immediately after this incident happened, without accepting the shortcomings of his policies. His government has now embarked on collective punishment of the Kashmiris.
Yeah.
2,000 people have been detained and scores of houses have been demolished.
Yeah.
Are the old fault lines re-emerging?
Yeah, you have, want to talk the weaknesses, the shortcomings of the Modi government's policy concerning Kashmir. Since, declaring Kashmir as an integral part of the Indian polity by abrogating the relevant constitutional provisions few years ago, then they conducted elections in the area and formed a civilian setup. But by all means, their policy in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir totally flopped, failed, because the people did not accept. The promised foreign investment could not materialize. The job opportunities there could not be, generated in that area. And the people still, struggling to achieve their rights, which are guaranteed under international law, as well as under the Indian Constitution as well. So, there are still, voices, opposition is still there, and the people who have formed certain pressure groups, certain freedom fighter groups within the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, they are still struggling. So when, this Pahalgam happened, what we saw, immediately registration of an FIR. Within 30 minutes of the incident happened in that area. While the concerned police station, I think reportedly, as it was mentioned yesterday in the ISPR's briefing, 30 minutes drive away from the area of Pahalgam. So, the FIR registered, without conducting any investigation and blaming the outside forces.
And yes, that's one issue. But what I'm trying to ask you is that you said that the economy is still not stable there. Yes,
Yeah, it is
but
not still there.
there was a surge since 2022. There was a surge in tourism, and tourism in Kashmir is an important aspect for boosting their economy.
Yeah, obviously, the Kashmir is a tourist area within India, and people tend to go there traditionally since long. It is not that the people have started going over there now, but the promise that the tourism sector will flourish.
It is flourishing. It is flourishing.
No, it is not flourished. New investments have not been made.
They are coming on tourism sector.
No. New hotels have not been built over there. New infrastructures have not been built up there. The foreign investors have not come into in the Indian illegally occupied Kashmir to make the promised investments, because the environment was not conducive for the foreign investment. So there are still voices within the area which are opposing the Indian control, the Indian presence of their forces in that area.
But what is happening now, the way they are treating the Kashmiris? In fact, being a Kashmiri has become an evil there. They are going after the Kashmiris. They are hurting the Kashmiris. They are detaining them. They are arresting them. For them, every Kashmiri is a suspect.
Every Kashmiri is a suspect, not only within the state but also within India.
In India, rest of the
You
India.
must have seen the report.
Yes.
A large number of students have been detained. They are under investigation. Some of them have been sent to prisons. So I think
They are also lynched.
yeah. So the BJP government's initial the euphoria to establish their control in the Indian illegally occupied Kashmir by abrogating the relevant constitutional provisions has not been able to fully materialize. So when they saw this happen on 22nd of April in Pahalgam, they got really disturbed. And in the process, they started blaming the outside, forces.
So what Mr. Modi has been telling the world, that all is normal in Nasif, that
And it
all
is
is
not normal.
in Kashmir. That narrative, and they have been trying to sell that narrative to the international community, that please come to Kashmir. That has that balloon has been punctured.
You are right. In fact, Mr. Modi has been trying to sell the falsehood about Kashmir, and everyone knows the reality as far as Indian illegally occupied Kashmir is concerned. So we should not be surprised that why Mr. Modi now felt the need to blame Pakistan for what happened in Pahalgam. And this is not something new. He has been ruthless as far as Kashmir is concerned. A few weeks ago, Home Minister Amit Shah also visited.
Yes.
And he was also, he tried to boast about normalcy returning to the occupied Kashmir. But the Pahalgam showed that it is not. And if it was in fact done by the Kashmiris, as alleged by the Indian government, so we should have known by now. Someone should have owned the responsibility. I call it a flag operation. Reason is that false flag operation, because it is Indian habit of creating a situation
But
to malign Pakistan.
the resistance front, they claim responsibility initially.
But no one knows what the resistance front is.
They say it's an affiliate of Lashkar-e-Taiba.
Well, this is what they
say.
The question is, do we accept that? That's the actual thing. And that's why I think Pakistan did the right thing by demanding neutral inquiry.
Okay. Asif, staying with you. Now, India views security challenges in Kashmir as Pakistan specific and hence does not see the need for any domestic input to tackle the situation.
This is nonsensical.
Kashmiris are sidelined even in these affairs which involve the region. For example, in weeks before the attack, 8 security meetings were held in Srinagar, in which Chief Minister Abdullah was not invited. He was sidelined. India has failed to take a broader perspective of the issue and blames Pakistan. How will it affect our bilateral relations?
It's more than bilateral relationship. It is going to enhance hatred among the Kashmiris against India. While the Abdullah families are the lackeys of India, even they are not trusted by the Indian establishment, by the Modi government, by the Hindutva brigade. That's the tragedy of Kashmir, that it is now fully occupied, which is why it lost its statehood, and which is why that now there are voices and protestations to restore the statehood. And Mr. Omar Abdullah is just a puppet. He is no more than a mayor of Srinagar. His own value is not more than mayor of Srinagar.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying that.
Yes,
Indian
yes,
analysts, when he got elected, they said he won't be able to restore the status of the erstwhile Jammu and Kashmir state into a statehood again, because that has been abrogated.
India continues, the stress of my question is that India still continues to view challenges in Kashmir as Pakistan specific, as something which is being caused by Pakistan, and they believe that they have no input for the internet. I mean, the federal government has nothing to offer to Kashmir.
The question is, if that was the case, then what about their claims that normalcy has returned to the occupied Kashmir? So it means either that was wrong or what Pakistan is doing is correct. The question is, India, if think that they can, take out Pakistan from the Kashmir equation, then they are committing a big mistake.
It's fallacious.
Pakistan is a party to the Kashmir dispute, whether they like it or not. Much to their chagrin, the question is, if today, forget about our Prime Minister, if I today give a call for a strike in Kashmir, it will be honored.
Yeah.
And if Indian Prime Minister gives a call for the strike,
that won't be honored.
no one
Riaz, you have something to say?
Yeah, but Asif has just said, I would like to add just one sentence. Modi Sahab, looks into Kashmir issue as, Pakistan security specific, you said. It is because the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, they have special love for Pakistan. They want to join Pakistan. They are struggling for their right to self-determination. They have not compromised on their basic rights. That's why, the BJP government led by Prime Minister Modi looks into this issue from Pakistan's perspective.
Okay.
And we should not, forget that.
Yes. Now, nullification of Article 370, it has neither ended violence nor liquidated factors responsible for driving locals towards militancy. Since 2021, as we were discussing, there has been a gradual increase in attacks in Indian-occupied Kashmir. And even after this new government has taken place, there have been a number of attacks which have not been reported. Now, after Pahalgam, BJP extremists are painting entire communities as suspects, linking religious identity to terrorism and justifying repression in the name of security. Now, do you think the policy will stem the tide of this new emerging Kashmiri nationalism, which seems to be taking on Modi's Hindu nationalist policy?
If you look into the history of the Kashmir struggle, sometimes it's quite pronounced. the people are struggling, they are sacrificing, they are fighting for their rights. And in the process, they get their full coverage, not only locally, but also in the international media. Sometimes their voices are suppressed. Now, following the Pahalgam, the massacre, what we have seen in the Indian media and in the statements of the BJP leadership, as well as some other people, particularly in their, people who are conducting interviews as anchor persons in the Indian media, what you see is you feel hatred amongst them about the Kashmiri people. Kashmiris are living in a big prison. When you have deployed huge number of forces over there, and you don't guarantee basic rights to the Kashmiri people, what you are expecting? People will struggle. New groups will emerge. If you ban one group, other groups will emerge.
So, do you see this emergence of new nationalism in Kashmir, or Kashmiri nationalism?
Kashmiri nationalism has always been there. This is what I am trying to underline. Sometimes their nationalism, their national aspirations are suppressed by the huge deployment of forces, by the detaining huge number of youth in Kashmir. By denying them their basic rights. This is what we have seen in the rest of India. When you are dealing with the Kashmiri people, the Kashmiri youth, they are not even given the opportunity to complete their degrees. So in the process, you want that the people will forget. They will never. They are just waiting for the right opportunity to express themselves.
Asif, this Kashmiri nationalism which we see now, it seems to be taking on now with greater resolute the Modi's Hindu nationalist policies.
It was never subdued. It could not.
Yeah.
One. But adding to what Riaz has just said, just imagine arrests of more than 2,000 Kashmiris
yes.
on Pahalgam.
Exactly.
And destruction of suspect,
houses.
quote unquote,
Houses.
militants,
Houses.
over a dozen.
Yes.
The question is, how many people were involved in that incident as far as Pahalgam was concerned? How many were the militants? But you have arrested 2,000 people. What is the ratio? What do you want to prove?
As if the question is not whether how many people were there. The question is, what we see now is that despite every effort by India, despite stationing hundreds and thousands of troops there, you still see people revolting against India. This incident could be the result of the greater discontent which we see in Kashmir.
In fact, this should alarm the Indian leadership, and they should see the reason, and they should in fact come and have a dialogue to resolve the issues. Pakistan also has been always, emphasizing this aspect, that if you want to have peace and amity, you have to address the Kashmir dispute. Now, a Musharraf formula is very much there, and that can be addressed as a starting point. It can, you can say, bring peace and calm to this entire
But Asif,
region.
we are not even talking. They don't want to talk to us.
Well, fine. The question is, that's why it is not resolving. It is coming back to haunt them.
And it will continue.
And it will continue to haunt them. And then if they think that they can browbeat Pakistan, so it has not worked. They tried that during this Pulwama episode, and they tried Balakot, and then we responded within 24 hours. It is not going to work.
Unless and until this issue of Kashmir is resolved, this thing is going to happen, and it could create a situation where we could, both the countries, we would lose a lot.
You are right. The Pahalgam, the massacre, as I have said earlier, it has exposed the inherent weaknesses of the BJP government's policies on Kashmir and the steps that they have taken by abrogating their constitution. They have to review their policies. and they have to talk not only to the Kashmiris, but also they have to conduct bilateral dialogue with Pakistan to resolve this issue. This is the only option available. No doubt, perhaps the conditions are not conducive at the moment because, following Pahalgam, the incident, Indian government has taken a number of steps by reducing, the number of diplomats and staff and defense personnel in the respective
So,
Pakistani High
gentlemen, you
Commission.
don't see any way to curb, for India, any way to curb the nationalistic spirit which we see now. I mean, I believe that what has happened shows India says that locals were involved. If the locals were involved, and if the locals were supporting this people who conducted this dastardly act, then it means that within Kashmir there is still strong hatred for what India has done to the Kashmiri way of life, to Kashmiri culture.
I think this sentiment has expressed itself so many times. It is not first time. And it is going to express itself in future as well. So India should make no mistake. And more importantly, Indians, right now there's quite a euphoria in the Indian foreign policy domain. They think that Jaishankar doctrine is working, but it is not. In fact, it is a big failure. They thought that they will make Pakistan irrelevant. They miserably failed. They cannot. The question is, if that's the case, then why Mr. Jaishankar at any given opportunity tries to malign Pakistan? Because he is scared of Pakistan. Because he is haunted by Pakistan.
Yeah.
And this is what they have to address. Whether they like it or not, Pakistan is a reality, and Pakistan is going to stare them in the face.
Yes, right.
Not talking to your neighbor, avoiding your neighbor is not a good policy.
Yeah, correct. Now, Riaz, staying with you, Pakistan, the Prime Minister Modi has raised the stakes too high for himself and his party. His public outbursts, his war-mongering, his anti-Pakistan statements were designed to stoke anger, hatred, and call for revenge. Now, quite evident that Mr. Modi is building up case for military action inside Pakistan. Defense Minister, that's our Defense Minister, thinks it is imminent. How do you see the situation evolving?
I mean, no doubt Modi Sahab has been trying on a number of times in the past to achieve certain narrow objectives by raising the bogey of Pakistan and terrorism and Muslims and Ghar Wapis Chalo policy, something. He has used so many occasions to achieve his limited objective of winning an election. Now, in this case, as we are talking today, it is election in Bihar.
To be followed by UP.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we should not ignore that aspect. And Modi has been doing that. BJP government, party has been fully supporting him on this issue. Now, coming to, you mentioned about our defense minister. Our defense minister's certain policies have been under discussion in the media. I think
His statements.
His statements and remarks. I think our ministers should be careful. I can only say that while talking about so sensitive issues like war.
Asif?
I agree. I mean, that statement that we did it at the behest of the Americans, that these extremists were propped up.
Yeah.
It was nonsensical, to say the least. He doesn't know what was the situation on the ground. And it was actually the erosion of rule of law in the country that allowed these extremist forces to flourish. And he should better have better brief to talk internationally.
That's why they say it's best to let your foreign office do the talking when it comes to international
Fully
affairs.
endorse.
Now, but Asif, what about Mr. Modi? He has raised the stakes too high for himself. How is he going to extricate himself?
Imran,
no, he has to extricate himself. He's a leader of more than 1 billion people.
Yeah.
How can he extricate himself from the situation?
Imran, he is euphoric because he is an RSS Pracharak and BJP is ruling. It is not BJP as a party, but the RSS behind it, and he considers himself, his constituency is RSS. He wants to please that, which is why that he preferred addressing the rally in Bihar than attending the meeting on to issue this incident, unfortunate incident. And then he also, his eyes are on UP election. Now, mind you, Bihar and UP are the two states which actually determine that who is going to rule the future Indian government, at least in the center. UP is the largest state, followed by Bihar, and they determine. And they have had, severe beating, at least in Bihar.
Now, gentlemen, my question is that, see, Mr. Modi and BJP government raised the ante. They created a war euphoria. They told their public that, well, Pakistan is responsible, and not so many, Pakistan was never mentioned, but still, when you take action or take measures against a country, it shows that what you say. So they have said that. Now their narrative was not bought by the international community. They are in a fix. Prime Minister of India is in a fix.
It has backfired.
It has backfired. How does he extricate himself from this situation?
We can come to his rescue.
Yeah, the best option is, they should review their policy.
You mean to say we provide Mr. Modi a way out?
We can.
Should we be doing that?
He
has maligned you. He has come after you. He has talked about bleeding Pakistan.
If sanity prevails on the Indian camp, then it is a possibility.
Okay.
Then, for instance, I can draw a scenario that our Prime Minister, of course, it has to be decided earlier that there will be a call from Prime Minister of Pakistan to Prime Minister of India and talking that let's resolve this issue amicably. And if possible, there could be a visit from our Prime Minister.
Yes, this is quite.
This is all of a sudden.
One domestic development which took place, I think, yesterday in Pakistan is appointment of a new national security advisor. His appointment at this juncture should be looked into a context.
Yes.
There might be some parallel channel which is being used by both the countries bilaterally as well as with other countries, and NSAs play certain role in that. And I hope this channel,
but
and
our
I'm
channels
sure
are quite our channels of communication, they are completely shut, Asif.
They are, but I think there has been a history of opening such channels. So I can imagine that this can be revived also. So as rightly pointed out by Riaz Bukhari, that the appointment of NSA is a viable channel which can actually have some conversation with his Indian counterpart.
So you mean to say there are indications that both the sides now they want to de-escalate and
they
talk?
should.
Because
they should.
if
no,
you
no,
look
they
into,
should is one thing, but are they doing it?
If you look into the background of international players like the UN Secretary General, US Secretary of State, and some other regional players.
Iran has done it.
Yes.
Saudi has done it.
So Iran has also offered good offices to mediate. So there must be, some developments, which are taking place to diffuse the situation. And I hope in the next 24 hours, the situation will be much better as of today.
So what you're saying is we could see de-escalation taking place.
Yeah.
De-escalation is very important.
Yeah.
Do you think after this telephone call from Marco Rubio, this call will play a role or has played a role?
It should. It should. I think in any case, it is just not Marco Rubio. It is the peace of the region, just not India and
But
Pakistan.
India was not interested in peace of the region. I think that India's narrative has not.
But they don't have a choice, Imran.
Now they don't have a choice. Now.
So the issue is, you cannot, as Mr. Vajpayee used to say, that you can, change your friends, but you can't change your neighbors. Right?
Yeah.
So it's a reality. These realities should also be dawned upon our Indian friends, especially the BJP and Hindutva Brigade.
Yes.
I think we should also look into one more aspect. While U.S. Secretary of State has called, no doubt, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Dr. Shankar from the Indian side, and then look into the background of Indo-U.S. strategic relationship and China as a target, not Pakistan as a target. So U.S. has a bit different policy as concerned the region. Their main target is China. So they have to focus on that. They don't want India to lose its energies on other affairs, on developing new scenarios, opening new fronts. We should look into this aspect.
Okay, gentlemen, last question. Now, Pakistan called for a transparent and impartial inquiry or probe into the incident. While it was a good move by Pakistan to prove its innocence, India obviously cannot accept it. The results of the independent inquiry would be quite or could be quite humiliating for India in general and Mr. Modi in particular. Indications are therefore that India could launch military strikes. Asif.
I think that would be reciprocated immediately. India should have no illusions, or they should not commit this mistake.
Yes.
I agree with Asif. The message conveyed yesterday by our foreign minister, deputy prime minister, as well as the army's spokesperson, that was very clear, and that should be seen by New Delhi in the right context.
One more thing, the role of media, Asif, the Indian media as well as Pakistan media. Once you see what the Indian media is saying, some of them were completely ludicrous.
It's laughable. Indian media, sometimes it looks like a notanki,
एक तमाशा लगा होता है Indian media.
I mean, they just, they have lost
and
the
they
sense.
have the analysts, lieutenant generals, what they are talking is sheer nonsense.
It is.
That has
Destroy Pakistan, flatten Rawalpindi.
Those shows have exposed the quality of the senior leadership of the Indian Army. If you look into the retired 3 stars from the Indian Army and you look and compare them, the 3 stars retired of the Pakistan Army, you will feel
But
that.
I think, to be fair to them, there are saner voices.
Saner voices also, definitely.
In India also, and I think we should, in fact, pay tribute to them, because at least they are putting the record straight. That what is happening, and they are trying to convince their own government and their leadership that have a heart and be reasonable. So I think, but as I said, I think there's a need to calm down and there's a need to de-escalate the level.
And hopefully this de-escalation, gentlemen, is started. It is taking place. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard the views of my panelists. Pahalgam was truly a tragic incident and must be condemned and has been condemned. However, to weaponize the killings of this 26 innocent people and to use the grief of a family for warmongering and to create war hysteria, that is despicable. What we have seen is that Indian leaders have not shown grace and dignity in facing their losses. Mr. Modi, as we have all stressed and reiterate, that Mr. Modi and the BJP government, without shred of evidence, without any investigation, has blamed Pakistan for the involvement, and they have stoked war. People, I mean, they've created war hype in the country. As one of the BJP leaders said, flatten Rawalpindi. Indian officials believe that military action or military strike against Pakistan could be limited in nature, but they don't realize that the second strike is with Pakistan, and how things unfold will depend much on Pakistan's reaction. And once the war starts, the events cannot be controlled. We do hope that, as my panelists said, saner voices prevail and de-escalation takes place. We will continue to monitor the events, and we will be back. Thank you for watching Ambassador's Lounge.